So my dad's great, but he's not very good at talking about uncomfortable subjects. So, for example, one time as a kid, I was watching TV with him and Wayne's World 2 comes on. And Wayne has a line where he says, "Oh, by the way, Garth finally got pubes this year, but don't tell him that I told you." And then Garth comes on screen and says, "You didn't tell him about my pubes, did you?" And I could tell it was a joke, I just couldn't understand why it was funny. So I turn to my dad and I say, "Dad, what are pubes?" And he looks at me and then looks right back at the TV and just pretended I never asked. A little while later, I was watching TV again, this time unaccompanied, and I heard the word orgasm for the first time. Now, I did not know what this word meant, but I knew that asking wasn't going to do me any good, so I decided to puzzle it out for myself. Now, orgasm has the same word ending as spasm, and spaz is short for spasm, so having an orgasm is probably another way to say being a spaz. So, I'm picking on my little brother, and he really starts to flip out, so I get out of the room so that I don't get in trouble. And my dad walks by and says, "Hey, Jesse, what's going on with your brother?" And I said, I don't know, he's probably just having an orgasm, I guess. My dad, he looks right at me and says, "Yeah, you don't know what that word means, do you?" And that was it, end of conversation. And this became the lens that I had for understanding the world, knowing that there were secrets that I was just gonna have to puzzle out for myself. And this was especially true when it came to girls. Now, with girls, my dad did give me one clue to start with. See, being a kind person is very important to my dad. So, for example, when I started going to school dances, my dad would take me aside and say, "Listen, Jesse, there's going to be a lot of girls at this dance, and they're all going to be there to have a good time, so it's very important that you don't just dance with the girls you're interested in, but ask a different girl to dance for each song. And especially look for the girls who aren't being asked to dance a lot, and make sure to dance with them so they can have a nice time too." And that's good and true. The problem was, I couldn't for the life of me translate that into making girls interested in me. No matter how polite I was, girls were not just falling at my feet, and my friends seemed to be pairing off effortlessly. So I embarked on a long series of trial and error to try to figure out what this mechanism was, what the procedure was that would make girls fall for me. So I would wonder, for example, is it maybe physical proximity? No, you understand. I was thinking maybe it's being a gentleman. But no matter how many doors I held open, those girls did not ask me to be their boyfriend. On TV, girls like compliments. So one time at a dance, with every girl I slow danced with, I looked at her and said, "You have the most beautiful eyes." And you know, some of them smiled and blushed and said thank you, and some of them were a little weirded out. And one even said, "Yeah, it's pretty dark in this gym. If you can tell me what color my eyes are, I might believe you." But would you believe not a single one of them just grabbed me by the lapels and kissed me there on the spot? And really, things didn't get much better by the time I got to college. And one day I was sitting in my car in a grocery store parking lot, and I was having the same anxious conversation I'd been having with myself since middle school, saying there's all these cute girls and I don't know how to make them like me, and maybe if I could just know if any of them were interested, if I could just have a sign. And then I had a little bit of an epiphany. I thought, you know, maybe some of those girls might like a sign too. And if they're not going to have the decency to give me the sign I'd like, you know, maybe that's something I can do for them. So I decided to try an experiment. Got out my phone. "Hi, Cynthia. Yeah, it's Jesse. Listen, I was wondering if maybe you might want to go to the movies with me?" "Yeah? No, Friday's great. Friday at 7. All right, I can't wait. Thanks." Huh. "Hi, Beth." "Beth, yeah, it's Jesse. Listen, I'd like to buy you dinner sometime. No, I'm actually busy Friday, but could you do Saturday? All right, perfect. I can't wait. Turns out, all you have to do is ask. All you have to do is ask, and 9 times out of 10, a girl will be nice enough to let me buy her a slice of pizza to see if anything clicks. How come nobody told me this? But I'd figured out a piece of the puzzle. I'd figured out a secret for myself. Now, I'll admit, I went a little power crazy there at the beginning. I realized I had a problem when one week, on my 3rd date of the week, I bumped into some friends I knew, and I introduced my date, Casey, as her best friend, Kelsey, who I was taking out the next night. Yeah. And on top of that, I still couldn't manufacture chemistry. No matter how charming I was, no matter what perfect, cozy restaurant I found, I still couldn't guarantee that either of us were going to have a good time. There was one girl I asked out, her name was Lucy, and she seemed really fun. But when we got to dinner, she spent the entire time talking about how she wanted a boob job. Now, it's not because I want bigger boobs. I mean, sure, but it's really because I need better credit, and a boob job just seems like something very reasonable I can put on my credit card and pay off over time. Huh. Yeah, you can't manufacture chemistry. Turns out what you got to do is ask and ask and ask and ask and hope you bump into something that clicks. Now, I haven't been on a first date in a long time because I've been with my awesome wife for about 5 years now. And we're talking about having kids someday, which means that I might be a dad someday. And I hope I'm as great as my dad was. And I can't wait to tell them the good things that he taught me, and to add to that the things that I learned the hard way to save them a little bit of grief. And I can't wait to figure out what they're going to learn for themselves, and maybe, if they ask nice enough, I'll tell them what pubes are. Thank you.